Today, we're diving into a powerful technique for changing minds that, well, it goes against pretty much every instinct we have. This isn't about winning an argument, it's about learning how to start a totally different and way more effective kind of conversation.
So, have you ever been there? You're in a debate, you've got your facts lined up, undeniable, mic drop, game over facts, and you're absolutely positive you're about to change someone's mind only to watch them get even more stubborn? Yeah, it's an incredibly frustrating experience, and you are definitely not alone. See, when you hit a deeply held belief with a contradictory fact, the brain's first instinct isn't to go, oh, good point. It's to defend itself. People will immediately start looking for reasons to call your source biased or say your facts are flawed, and then they double down on what they already believed. It's a totally predictable human reaction. All right, so let's dig into this first. We need to understand why our very best, most logical facts can sometimes make things even worse. I mean, check out this real-world example from David McGraney. He tells the story about a man who was a die-hard believer that 9/11 was an inside job. But then he changed his mind. And when he went back to his old community with all the facts that convinced him, they didn't thank him. Nope. They called him a traitor, a double agent, and they completely kicked him out. It's this incredible reminder that our group identity can just completely steamroll cold, hard evidence. And this whole phenomenon actually has a name. It's called the backfire effect. You can think of it like a cognitive defense mechanism. When you attack a belief with facts, you can actually trigger someone to build their mental walls even higher. It ends up reinforcing the very thing you were trying to change, which tells us pretty clearly that facts alone just aren't the key. Okay, so if throwing facts at people doesn't work, what on earth does? This is where we get into a totally different and, you'll see, a much more effective approach. And this right here, this is the fundamental shift in strategy. The old way, the one that feels so intuitive, is to just attack the belief head on. The new way, you step back, way back. Instead of telling someone they're wrong, you simply ask them to explain why they're so certain they're right. It's such a simple pivot, but it is profound. The psychology here is just fascinating. When you ask someone to explain the mechanics of their belief, you force them to go from just feeling certain to actually trying to justify it. And a lot of the time, they find out their own understanding isn't nearly as solid as they thought. That's when a little crack appears. And the key is, it's not from you attacking them. It's from their own self-reflection. Okay, so we get the problem, and we get the core idea behind the solution. Now, let's break this down into a really practical 3-step technique that you can actually go out and use. I want you to think of these as 3 checkpoints you have to pass through to unlock the possibility of change. First, you have to build rapport, then you discuss their confidence level, and finally, you help them access a personal story. You really can't skip a step either. They build on each other. Step 1 is the absolute foundation. Here's a great way to think about it. Building rapport is like convincing someone to turn off their mental alarm system. If they feel attacked or judged, that system is blaring, lights are flashing, and there is no way you're getting invited into the emotional space where their beliefs actually live. Now, there's a simple acronym to remember this: RAPP. First, R is for relax. Drop the goal of winning. Your only goal right now is to understand. A is for accept. Don't shame them, just park your judgment for a bit. The first P is for paraphrase. Repeat what they said back to them, generously, so they know you're really listening. And the last P is for point out common ground. Find anything you can agree on to build that bridge of trust. So once you've built that bridge, you can move to step 2. And this one relies on another super interesting cognitive quirk called the illusion of explanatory depth. It's this idea that most of us think we understand how, say, a zipper works, but if you actually had to explain it step by step, you'd probably get stuck. We assume we understand things way more deeply than we do, and that goes for complex policies just as much as zippers. So to gently probe at this illusion, you can use a little 3-question sequence. First, just ask them to rate their confidence on a scale. If they say they're a 90, you follow up with, interesting, how did you arrive at 90 specifically? This makes them try to produce some reasoning. Then, and this is the clever part, you ask, so what accounts for that missing 10 points? This invites them to talk about their own uncertainty, which is way, way more powerful than you pointing it out. After you plant that little seed of doubt, we get to the final and, honestly, the most powerful step. It's like you're walking into the conversation with a ring of keys, and each key is a special kind of question designed to unlock a personal experience that maybe doesn't quite fit with their rigid belief. The whole goal here is to get them out of abstract arguments and into their own real lived experiences. You can ask things like, hey, have you ever known someone who held the opposite view but you really respected? Or even, was there ever a time, just for a second, where you felt a little uncertain about this? You see, it's a lot harder for someone to dismiss their own life than it is to dismiss an article you sent them. Your job is just to help them find and re-examine those moments.
And it's so important to realize that this isn't just some clever debate tactic. It's a fundamentally different way of engaging with people, and the impact it can have is just staggering.
I mean, how effective are we talking? Well, when researchers studied these techniques in the real world, they found they were 102 times more effective than traditional methods like canvassing. Let that sink in. 102 times. That's not a small improvement. That's a total game changer.
And that's because this method can do something facts almost never can. It can dislodge beliefs that seem completely hardened, beliefs that have calcified on a person, like barnacles on the side of a ship. And sometimes all it takes is a single 10-minute conversation where someone finally feels heard, understood, and safe enough to start questioning themselves.
So, as we wrap this up, it really leaves us with one final thought. This isn't just about winning political debates on the internet. This is about reconnecting with family members, helping a friend through a tough spot, or bridging divides in our own communities. So the real question is, now that you have this approach, what conversation could you have that might just change a life in your world?